Hey guys, tonight we journey somewhere the waking world can't follow. You're not walking, you're floating, ascending like a feather caught in the breath of God. The ceiling above you softens, the stars spread like silk across the heavens, and everything you thought was solid dissolves into light. Tonight you're not in your bed. You're on a stairway without steps rising into stories never told in Sunday school. Above you, an ancient door opens without sound. The kind of door you only find in dreams or in verses too strange to preach. What's behind it? Let's just say, unless you've got wings or a direct line to the Almighty, you probably won't survive this much holiness without a nosebleed, but lucky for you, you're dreaming, or praying, or both. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where the spirit flows around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You hover just inside the veil where heaven brushes earth like fingers through water. It's not loud here. No trumpets, no dramatic symphonies, just the hush of eternity breathing. You've stepped into a place where angels move history like threads through a tapestry. But here's the twist, you weren't supposed to see this. You float above ancient Mesopotamia. Cities haven't even found language yet. And already the first angels are arranging futures like chess pieces. One nudges a river's flow. Another distracts a lion from devouring a wandering boy who will one day become a patriarch. You watch as they orchestrate without applause. That's how it works up here, unseen miracles quietly done. You notice something strange angels rarely speak. Most operate in complete silence, their communication flowing like light between stars. But tonight, one does whisper. You lean in. His voice sounds like wind moving through leaves. He's speaking about a child who hasn't been born yet, but whose life will detour a plague. You look down and see a man working in his fields. He wipes sweat from his brow. This is Enoch. Yes, the one who will be taken one day. But before he ever walks with God, he almost dies at age 5 until a nameless angel gently steers a falling tree a few inches to the left. No one notices, not even Enoch. But it shifts the story of humanity by millennia. It's that subtle, that quiet, that divine. As you drift further, you come to understand the true miracle isn't always parting seas or raising the dead. Sometimes it's God's patience braided through angelic timing. Sometimes it's the crisis that didn't happen. The storm that turned just before reaching the shore, the temptation that passed your door, the mistake you almost made but didn't. These are the miracles no one claps for, and yet they form the hidden skeleton of history. Some theologians believe the angelic realm is split into functions: messengers, warriors, guardians. Others argue these roles overlap and blur. After all, isn't a warning also a kind of rescue? Isn't silence sometimes the loudest shout from heaven? You peer again through the divine mist and see something that feels odd. One angel younger than the rest, or maybe just more hesitant, holds a scroll unread. His instructions are clear, but his heart is not. He's been told to stop a tribe from forming that would one day build weapons to enslave others. But he hesitates. He wonders, if I change this now, will I prevent something worse or something better? Theologians debate angelic free will. But tonight you see it, this one pauses, waits, and in his moment of doubt, a child is born that will become a shepherd, not a tyrant. The scroll returns to his side unopened. A mistake, a mercy, a divine risk, no one knows. Perhaps not even God. There's a softness here. Not everything is written in stone. Some of it is fluid, responsive like jazz. And angels, it seems, are the players between the beats. You begin to descend gently through the clouds of time. You pass the shadow of Babel, the seeds of Babylon, and the unformed ruins of Sodom still years from falling. And yet already the angels hover nearby preparing. You notice that these beings don't only descend from heaven, they rise from earth as well. One moves backward through time to ensure a mother drinks clean water. Another holds the hand of a baby being born, breach shifting him just enough to take his first breath. No miracles recorded, no halos painted, just the quiet force of divine timing in motion. And somewhere among them you sense the outline of your own story. Not clearly, not yet, but something about the way one angel glances toward your presence suggests familiarity. as if they've helped you once, or will. You reach a place above the clouds where the stars begin to pulse in rhythm with something deeper. You realize it's not just heaven watching Earth, it's Earth shaping heaven too. Every prayer becomes a ripple, every decision an echo. And above it all, unseen angels watch adjust and whisper the miracles no one thanks them for. You turn toward the next doorway. It opens before you say a word. You step into the age of Noah, and the warnings begin. The air thickens with moisture as you drift downward through time. The sky takes on a color you can't quite name, somewhere between pewter and memory. You're entering the final days before the first drop of rain humanity ever knew. But the sky doesn't look angry yet. That's the most unsettling part. Everything feels normal, except it isn't. You land beside a grove where the trees lean a little too far left, as if nature itself is flinching from what's coming. And there beneath their shade sits a man carving wood. Noah. He's focused, steady, but not wise enough, not yet. At this moment in time, Noah still doubts the whispers. He hasn't picked up the first plank, and that's why the angel is here. You don't see this part in Sunday school, the version where Noah nearly walks away, not because he lacks faith, but because he believes he's misunderstood. A flood. Why would God destroy something he loves? The angel doesn't speak aloud. Instead, it hovers unseen just behind a dream Noah will have that night. You watch as the angel weaves images into his sleep of drowning skies, of birds with nowhere to land, of God crying silently into his own creation. Noah jolts awake the next morning, breathing hard, eyes wet. He begins to build. That dream wasn't born in his mind, it was delivered, and it's only one of many. Elsewhere, an angel approaches a young mother with 3 children and whispers, "Move inland." She thinks it's just intuition, but it isn't. She leaves 2 days before her village is swept away by the rising tide. This is the other side of the flood narrative, where the unseen hands didn't just warn Noah, but hundreds, maybe thousands. Not all listened, but enough did to carry a remnant of human kindness forward. Some believe angels are only sent on orders. Others suggest they sometimes volunteer. This one, the one assigned to Noah, wasn't chosen. He asked, because he loved humans, because he wanted to help them survive the very judgment they'd brought on themselves. You pause beside a crumbling altar, not one in scripture, but one lost to history. A small tribe had built it high on a hill, far from others. They were peaceful, devoted to the stars, but unaware of the God behind them. One angel visited them, not to preach, not to convert, but to guide them away from the path of destruction. Their village was never touched by flood or famine. Their stories didn't make it into the canon, but their blood flows in people still walking today. That's how quiet these miracles can be. Lifetimes altered without the sound of wings. You pass over the ark in its final stages. The wood smells rich, resinous, sealed with pitch. Inside, angels have already begun calming the hearts of animals. This is one of the greatest mysteries of the tale, how the creatures came and how they stayed. Theologians argue, was it divine instinct? Was it hypnotic suggestion? Or were angelic presences guiding them one by one? You watch an angel crouch beside a lion, placing a soft hand on its mane. The lion's breath slows. It curls into sleep like a kitten. Another touches a sparrow, guiding it mid-flight toward the open door of the ark. You chuckle because that sparrow almost veers off course to chase a beetle, and the angel gives it a tiny, almost annoyed nudge. Even up here, patience is a virtue. You sense another angel farther off, one who isn't helping. In fact, this one seems conflicted. He hovers near a city where people still laugh and drink, unaware of the rising water beneath their feet. He wants to intervene, but he's been told not to. Their time is over. This is one of those spiritual curiosities that scholars still debate. Can angels grieve? Tonight you see it for yourself. The angel weeps. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just a single tear like morning dew falling onto soil that will soon vanish beneath waves. And you realize something heavy, even divine messengers carry sorrow. The clouds above thicken. Not with rain yet, but with intention. Noah is older now. You fast forward gently through the final hammer strike, the final herd entering the ark. The angel beside him nods once, then disappears. His task is done, but your journey isn't. As the ark's door begins to close, sealed not by Noah, but by a divine force, you turn back to the village that ignored the warnings. You notice something. One child stands at the edge of the crowd, looking toward the mountains. She sensed something, maybe even heard something, but no one listened to her. You follow her soul as it lifts years later in a different body in a different land. She will once again hear a whisper, and this time, she'll follow it. Divine timing is rarely convenient, but it is always sacred. You drift upward, the first raindrops forming beneath you. They fall like crystal whispers from heaven, the kind that sound like lullabies until they become drums. And above the clouds the angels watch, some with pride, some with pain, all with purpose. You rise once more, not to escape, but to observe what follows after judgment, the rebuilding, the promises, the covenant written not just in rainbows but in rescue. Your next stop is a dream most people dismiss, a vision dismissed as poetic metaphor. But you're about to see it for what it truly was. A ladder, a real one. And it never stopped moving. The rain has passed, now washed away not just the wickedness, but the noise of early mankind. What's left is a quieter earth, steaming under the returning sun, reborn, but unsure of its new heartbeat. You descend through this silence gently until the ground below begins to hum, not with music or speech, but with dreams. One dream in particular. You're hovering just outside a modest camp under the stars. There lies a man with a stone for a pillow, cloaked against the night. His name is Jacob. And tonight he's going to see something no other human has witnessed before. Traffic between worlds. You drift closer as Jacob shifts in his sleep. Then suddenly it begins. A tremor in the air, but not earthly. The stars above stretch wide, almost like a curtain being pulled back. And from that hidden dimension you see it, the ladder. Not a rickety thing of rope or wood. No. This ladder is alive, threaded from starlight and holiness, anchored to the very pulse of heaven. Its rungs vibrate with light, and on them angels move. Some descend, some ascend, but all are focused, purposeful. None speak, and as you watch them pass, you notice they aren't all shaped the same. Some look human almost. Others are more like sentient geometry, wings folded into impossible symmetry, faces split between fire and calm. And you wonder, what are angels really? Some theologians think angel is more job description than species. That many kinds of divine beings bear that title when sent to earth. Others argue they're a separate order, entirely fixed in purpose, without choice. But then, how do you explain the one angel here who's just stopped? Yes, they're hovering at the midpoint of the ladder. One angel stands still, looking not up or down, but out, toward you, as if it knows you're watching. And then it does something no other angel on the ladder does. It steps off. Not falls, steps into space. You gasp a little instinctively, holding your breath. But the angel doesn't fall. Instead, it drifts toward a mountain range far off in the future, where another vision will soon be born. You're witnessing what scholars rarely dare to say: not all angels follow orders to the letter. Some choose. You glance back at Jacob. He's dreaming, but he stirs his fingers, twitch his brow furrows. He's seeing the ladder too, but only the surface of it. He doesn't see you. He doesn't see the angel who broke protocol. Instead, he hears a voice, not from the angels, but from above the ladder. I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham. The promise is spoken, land descendants blessing. But behind those words, you feel the machinery of heaven turning. Because the ladder isn't just a symbol, it's a system, a divine transfer route. And you just watched a glitch. Or maybe a divine deviation. Some Jewish mystics believe that angels occasionally miss their stop, that one who begins a task sometimes witnesses something on earth that makes them stay. This may be the origin of the idea of guardian angels, those who arrived for a task but remained out of love. Is that what happened here? You're not sure. But the ladder remains even as the dream fades. Jacob awakens, his breath sharp, his voice trembling. Surely the Lord is in this place and I did not know it. He erects a pillar, he pours oil, he names the place Bethel, House of God. But you, hovering just beyond time, know something Jacob doesn't. The ladder didn't vanish with his waking. It's still here, just invisible, still humming, still functioning. Right now, somewhere in your own life, a message may be descending it, or a prayer may be rising. And somewhere between, an angel may be pausing, wondering, choosing. You look down and see another moment in time now, years later. A tent, late night. Jacob alone again, wrestling something, or someone. Yes, a figure. Too fluid to be merely human, too solid to be merely spirit. Some say it's God himself. Others say it's a divine messenger, another angel sent to deliver humility in the form of a limp. You watch the struggle, the grunts, the stubbornness, and then the blessing. There's something poetic about Jacob always encountering the divine in the dark while sleeping or struggling. Never quite seeing, always believing. You drift back toward the ladder. It's dimmer now, not because it's inactive, but because humanity has stopped noticing. The angels still climb it, still descend, still deliver, and yet few remember it's even there. That's what makes this miracle so mysterious, not its power, but its constancy. You look around and realize you're not the only one watching. A different angel now approaches the base of the ladder. He carries no message, just a scroll blank and glowing. He dips a feather into a beam of moonlight and begins writing. He's not writing commands. He's recording moments of intervention that no one saw. A child led away from the road before a carriage arrived. A drunk man who forgot to turn on the stove. A soldier who looked up, paused, and missed a fatal arrow. All recorded, all marked, all quiet. The ladder continues to pulse. Jacob's legacy echoes through it even now. And as you rise again, the air turns sharper, because where you're going next is not a dream or a ladder, it's a confrontation. And one angel doesn't want to go. You don't fall into the next moment, you're pulled like a thread sliding through a needle. The atmosphere grows tighter, heavier. Not with evil exactly, but with decision. Resistance. An invisible pressure, like the pause before thunder. Below you, a wilderness stretches out like parchment. A nation wanders it, and standing in the thick of the dust is a single angel motionless scroll, clenched in hand, jaw tense. He doesn't want to go through with it. You circle around to see what he's been told. The scroll shimmers faintly, text alive and shifting. His instructions are precise. Deliver a message to a prophet. Warn the people. But if they refuse, you will strike. He reads it again and again. You can feel it, he's stalling. This is the angel tasked with redirecting the prophet Balaam. But what they never tell you is he almost didn't show up at all. You remember the donkey, of course, the one who spoke. But have you ever wondered why the angel appeared so late on the road? It wasn't timing, it was reluctance. This angel didn't doubt God's authority. He doubted himself. Would he strike too soon? Would he speak too harshly? Would Balaam even listen? He's seen too many humans mock warnings. He's seen cities ignore prophets and then blame heaven when judgment followed. So he hesitates. But here's the miracle, even hesitation in the hands of the holy can be used. You follow the angel at last as he steps forward onto the path, cloaking himself in light, so that only the donkey sees. And yes, when Balaam fails to perceive the divine in his path, the animal carries the burden of sight. Some believe this moment was orchestrated to humble a proud prophet. Others argue it was an emergency intervention, an angel improvising after initially refusing the task. Either way, what happens next is divine comedy wrapped in serious consequence. The donkey halts, the angel appears, and Balaam's eyes are opened not just to heaven's warning, but to the reality that he wasn't the only one chosen to carry the word that day. Even beasts apparently get a voice when angels delay. You drift farther back in the timeline now, not to Balaam's encounter, but to the moment the angel first received his scroll. He stood at the edge of the heavenly realm parchment, burning slightly at the edges. You see him shake his head not in rebellion but in anguish. He's seen what happens when judgment is ignored. He remembers a city long gone now where he delivered a similar message. No one listened. That scroll had to be burned in the end. Not because the message was wrong, but because no one read it. He doesn't want to see that again. You ask silently, do angels regret? He doesn't answer, but his eyes say yes. And then somewhere behind you another voice speaks. Even hesitation serves the throne. You turn. Another angel, older if that concept applies, floats near the edge of visibility. He's not reprimanding his younger peer. He's reassuring. You think mercy means delay, he says, but sometimes delay is mercy. That quiet line stays with you, especially now as the angel steps fully into the road, allowing the encounter with Balaam to unfold. You watch the prophet's face shift from arrogance to awe. The donkey, once beaten, breathes easier. The angel lowers his sword, not in threat, but in warning. He never wanted to strike, and now he doesn't have to. Some theological schools argue that angels are purely obedient, incapable of emotion. But tonight you've seen doubt, sadness, even fear. Not fear of failure, fear of misusing power. And that's what makes them divine. You drift just above the caravan, listening as Balaam recounts the story to others. Most laugh nervously. One even dismisses it. But a child nearby, the son of a stranger, overhears and quietly tells his own donkey, "I believe you'd see an angel too." And maybe he's right. You follow that child later in life. He grows into a quiet man who rescues animals during a famine. And one day, as he shelters a goat beneath an olive tree, a landslide misses his village by mere feet. Unrecorded miracle. Unseen mercy. The same angel watches from above, still silent, still unsure if he did everything right, but also at peace. Because no one died, no judgment fell, and a child believed. Sometimes that's all an angel needs. You pass now into a new wilderness, one filled with shadows and burning questions. The kind of terrain where the divine often appears disguised. Ahead, a bush burns without burning. But before Moses ever approaches it, an angel is already there clearing the snakes, leveling the ground, and asking God quietly, "Do you still want him?" The answer whispered in fire is yes, but only if you're ready to see what that really meant. The desert is silent, but it's a charged silence like the air right before lightning. You hover just above the sand, watching a goat graze near a patch of thorns. Nothing seems special here. No altars, no choirs, just heat shimmering above rock and brush. And then you see it a bush catching fire, without consuming itself. But wait, don't skip ahead. This isn't the part where Moses hears the voice. Not yet. You drift lower beneath the flames and find the angel already there crouched in the dust. He's not setting the bush aflame, he's guarding it. You notice the wings first not spread wide like art often shows, but folded tight like a soldier awaiting orders. His eyes scan the horizon. He isn't glowing. He isn't singing. He's clearing the area of scorpions. He's watching the wind. He's steadying the moment. Because something sacred is about to begin, and heaven has decided Moses needs to be alone when it does. And not just physically alone, spiritually too. That's why the angel moved the caravan earlier. Why a sudden change in wind kept other shepherds from straying this way. Why Moses feels that strange emptiness in his chest today, a hollowness that isn't sorrow but space. Space for God. And here's the mystery no one talks about. This isn't Moses' first encounter with divine presence. It's just the first one he remembers. You look back through time and see a younger Moses weeping in the reeds as Pharaoh's soldiers search for male infants. He should have been found. One of the guards passed within 3 feet of his basket, but an angel knocked loose a splash of mud that obscured the tracks. Just a little thing, just enough. And so the baby floated on. Was that angel the same one here now? You ask silently, and the angel's eyes flick toward you, a soft smirk. Some stories need more than one miracle. That's his answer. You turn back to Moses, approaching now hesitant. The fire dances brighter. It doesn't roar, it invites. And as Moses draws near, he begins to remove his sandals. But the instruction to do so didn't come from the bush first. It came in a whisper just before from the angel. Take them off. You're about to step into something not even you understand. Theologically, this moment has been debated for centuries. Some say it was God himself in the flame. Others argue it was the angel of the Lord, a mysterious figure who speaks both for God and as God, blurring the line between messenger and presence. Tonight, you don't need to decide. You simply witness. Because here's the spiritual curiosity. While Moses sees only the fire and hears the voice, there are layers he doesn't perceive. You see them. The angel stands just behind the flame, hands clasped, expression solemn as the divine voice echoes through reality. I have heard their cry. The words resonate in every direction. Even the stones seem to lean closer. I am sending you, and Moses trembles. But so does the angel. Because this is the part no one records, the angel volunteered to help Moses on the journey. Not just in fire, not just in plagues, but all the way through the wilderness. You now see that same angel appear again and again in the coming years, always in the background, lifting a veil of dust so Moses can see the path, sending a chill wind to hold back the Red Sea, whispering reassurances into the prophet's dreams when he fears the people hate him more than they love God. These are not flashy miracles. These are sustaining ones. And yes, even angels need to be convinced that humans are worth that effort sometimes. You drift now to the night before Moses descends Sinai with the tablets. The angel waits with him as the glory of God fades, just enough for Moses to safely carry the law. The angel doesn't speak, but he places a hand on Moses' shoulder, a touch that says, "You're not alone, not tonight, not ever." Some scholars argue Moses never spoke to an angel, only to God. But tonight you've seen the truth he spoke through one, and that's enough. As you rise again, the burning bush dims behind you, though its memory stays etched in your soul. You begin to hear a distant cry, the sound of children in peril. You shift toward a city of stone and gold, where a river glows like molten glass beneath the moonlight. Egypt, And tonight, one angel will move so softly you'll barely notice him. But his presence will turn the tide of grief, not by saving all, but by saving one. And in that one, hope will bloom again. The Nile glistens beneath the moon, quiet and broad like a sleeping serpent. The city around it breathes in uneasy silence. Torches flicker, sandals shuffle on stone doors, creak gently open and closed. But something heavier presses in tonight. This is Egypt on the edge of its final plague, the night of firstborns. You float above it, all the stars dimmer here, as though even the heavens are holding their breath. And then you see him, the angel. Not armored, not flaming, not thundering across rooftops like artists often imagine. He walks. Slowly, softly. This is the angel of death. But tonight you witness something different. He stops, just outside a humble stone home. A child inside stirs in his sleep. The family has done everything as commanded: blood on the doorposts, unleavened bread on the table, sandals on their feet. The angel raises a hand and then he waits. You drift in closer, watching. The angel steps back. Not because of the blood, though, that marks the threshold, but because he senses something else, a second presence. Another angel, one of mercy. She's standing just inside the doorway, arms extended over the child's bed. She doesn't speak. She only glows, barely, like moonlight over still water. They see each other and nod. This isn't a confrontation, it's choreography. You realize then that this is how it works. The angel of death never wanted to destroy, only to obey. But for every home he passes, there is another who stands within a silent intercessor. You glance down the street and notice others like her, one at each protected home, shining just enough to keep the dark from entering. And here's the miracle: not that God sent death, but that he sent protection with it. Some theologians struggle with this story. Why would a loving God allow such a plague, they ask. Others reply, why would he warn them first? Still others argue over whether the angel acted alone or by divine will. But tonight you see it clearly. Two forces moving in parallel: judgment and mercy. Not enemies, partners. And the one spared child you're watching now, he will live a long, quiet life, never famous, never mighty. But one day, he'll rescue a traveler from a collapsed well in Canaan. That traveler, a descendant of Esau, who will later become a craftsman. And that craftsman will forge the hinges for the Ark of the Covenant. All of it because one child breathed through this night. Unseen ripples, unseen miracles. And not all were spared. You drift toward a palace now where Pharaoh's son lies still. The angel of death walks out slowly, not triumphant, not cruel, grieved. You watch him pause in the corridor for just a second, then vanish. No song, no victory, just the sobbing of a broken king. Above the city, dozens of angels gather, not in celebration, but in solemn vigil. They do not cheer, they do not gloat, they observe. Because even justice costs something in heaven, and this night cost plenty. You follow one angel now far from the city. He returns to a cave where a young girl weeps into her knees. Her brother died tonight. Her family had mocked the Hebrew God, dismissed the warnings. But she had listened. She had believed. And she had tried to smear lamb's blood on the door while her parents weren't looking. Too little, too late. The angel kneels beside her, not to reverse time, not to undo the loss, but to sit with it. He doesn't speak, just stays. And you learn something vital: angels don't just deliver God's power, they carry his presence, even into grief. You rise again, and the city below begins to stir, the Israelites gathering, preparing to flee. The road ahead is long, wild, full of danger, but something unseen now goes before them. You look toward the horizon and see a column of cloud already rising in the distance. The pillar is not just weather, it's inhabited. Inside, a multitude of angels stand in formation, guardians, guides, quiet engineers of escape. One of them, the same angel who passed over the door earlier, steps forward, leading the way. And here's the secret: even as the Israelites walk free, even as the sea eventually parts, it's not Moses they're following. It's this angel, the one who wept before he walked. The one who knocked gently on heaven's door and asked, "Can I be the one to carry mercy tonight?" And the one who tomorrow will help command the wind. But for now, the wind is still. The city mourns. And one child in a small, quiet house dreams without fear because mercy stood in the doorway. The desert is vast again, no longer soaked in grief, but dry, cracked, aching for rhythm. You drift forward through the wilderness, following a people who barely know who they are yet. Free, yes, but frightened, hungry, suspicious of tomorrow. And here come the complaints. We had meat in Egypt. At least there was bread. Why lead us out here just to die? Moses sighs. The ground crunches beneath him. And somewhere beyond the complaints, beyond the brittle campfires and the dust-choked winds, angels begin to move again. Not in battle lines, not with swords, but with baskets. You smile. Because what's about to happen is one of the strangest miracles in all of Scripture, and almost no one stops to ask who delivered the bread. Manna, that soft, pale mystery that appeared each morning like dew from heaven. Described in Exodus as white like coriander seed tasting like honey wafers. A miracle of provision. But how did it arrive? You float just above the clouds and see them hundreds of angels gliding low before dawn, arms outstretched, scattering manna across the sands like divine gardeners. Each movement is delicate, intentional. One angel whispers to another, "Make sure it doesn't land on the ashes." Another loops back to redirect a gust of wind, so the flakes don't drift too far from the tent clusters. They've done this every morning for weeks, and they'll do it again tomorrow. One young angel hums while he works softly, tunelessly, but with joy. You notice him brush a speck of manna from a child's forehead without waking her. The child smiles in her sleep, and you think this is heaven's version of a packed lunch. Some theologians argue manna was a natural substance, perhaps from tamarisk trees or desert lichen. Others say it was purely miraculous, conjured daily by divine fiat. But few consider this. What if it was both? What if the miracle wasn't in the substance, but in the delivery? Angels ensuring the right amount landed for each family. No more, no less. No leftovers for hoarders. Because excess breeds fear, and fear wasn't part of the recipe. You follow the same angels later in the day, watching them gather up what wasn't collected. Not out of wastefulness, but obedience. Today's bread was for today. Tomorrow would bring its own miracle. And yet on the 6th day they shift. You watch as they double the distribution. The mood is reverent. The angels speak less now, aware of the holy rhythm behind the pattern. 6 days of work, 1 of rest. Not just for humans. For heaven too. One angel, perhaps a little older or just wearier, leans on his staff and murmurs, "It's not the bread they're being taught to trust. It's the giver." You feel that line ripple through the air like scripture unspoken. And then you hear it, someone complaining again. "I don't like the taste." The angels pause. Then one chuckles. They say that every century. Apparently, this isn't the first time humanity has grumbled at grace. Still, the angels serve anyway. You trail behind a group now entering the heart of the camp. They pass unnoticed between tents, checking on the weak, the elderly, the sick. One angel kneels beside a woman too frail to rise and places a single flake of manna directly into her bowl. You watch her stir awake, smile, and eat. No one sees the angel vanish. But her strength returns by noon. You rise above again and observe something beautiful across the dunes. The manna glows faintly in early morning light, like frost lit from beneath. It looks like a field of stars has fallen gently onto earth. And maybe it has. You wonder, do angels ever get tired? One stretches his shoulders, another rubs his eyes. Not from exhaustion, from presence. Because being near earth for this long changes them. They begin to love the people they serve. Even the grumblers. Even the hoarders. Even the ones who throw out the manna looking for meat. One young angel confides in another, "I left my post too early yesterday. A boy went hungry. I came back. He'd cried himself to sleep." The other angel puts a hand on his shoulder. "You came back. That's the part that matters. Not perfection. Compassion." And here's a lesser-known curiosity according to some apocryphal traditions. Manna didn't cease entirely after the wilderness. A remnant remained hidden away, preserved in a golden jar inside the Ark of the Covenant. Why? Some say it was to remind future generations of God's provision. Others suggest something deeper, that even after the miracles faded, the memory of angelic service stayed alive, a taste of heaven sealed on earth. You look down again. The Israelites are waking. Children giggle, running barefoot through the sand. Mothers gather bowls, elders stretch sore backs. And above them, already retreating with the morning light, the angels ascend once more empty-handed, now their task complete for today. You follow the last one upward. He pauses, turns, and watches the camp below. He whispers something you almost don't hear. Bread was only ever half the miracle. And then he's gone, but you don't have time to linger. Because far ahead, another city waits. Its walls thick, its gates shut, its armies ready. And a warrior angel has just touched down beside a man named Joshua. The heat is sharper here, like iron left in the sun too long. You descend slowly, letting the dry wind pass through you. Before you lies a fortified city, Jericho. Its walls are high, smug, uncracked. The people within feel untouchable, but the ground around them hums with coming change. You hover just above the Israelite camp outside the city. Tents flap, spears clink. There's a nervousness here. No one really knows how this will play out, except for one man, Joshua. He stands apart from the others, staring toward the horizon with the weight of leadership pressing into his spine. And tonight, just before dusk, something extraordinary happens. An angel appears, but not in soft glow or whispering form. This one arrives fully armed, sword-drawn expression unreadable. He doesn't descend gently. He lands like thunder, deciding to walk. Joshua doesn't flinch. He steps forward and asks the question any human would ask. Are you for us or for our enemies? And the angel answers in a voice that sounds like stone splitting. Neither. I am the commander of the army of the Lord. Theological scholars often debate this moment. Some say this commander is the angel of the Lord, perhaps even a theophany, a direct manifestation of God in angelic form. Others argue he's one of the higher celestial generals dispatched for this specific mission. You don't need to choose tonight. You just watch. Because what happens next shifts everything. Joshua falls to his knees. The angel doesn't stop him. He lets the silence wrap around them like a cloak. Then he says, "Take off your sandals, for the place where you stand is holy." Sound familiar? It's the same command given to Moses at the burning bush. And now it's Joshua's turn to carry fire without being burned. You drift closer to the city gates. From this distance, Jericho looks invincible. But above the walls, unseen by all, inside a second army waits. Angels. Not thousands, just a dozen. That's all it will take. You watch them mark weak points in the wall, not structural, but spiritual. Places where fear has already begun to rot the stone. Places where cruelty once echoed too loudly. They don't destroy. They prepare. And then they wait. Because this victory won't come through swords. It'll come through sound. The marching, the horns, the shout. But here's what no one sees each time the Israelites circle the city. An angel walks with them. Silently, patiently, matching step for step. Not guiding, but amplifying. Every human footfall is multiplied. Every trumpet blast is echoed in the spirit realm. What seems like obedience on earth is warfare in heaven. You follow one angel in particular. His armor flickers with firelight, but his face is calm. Each day he inspects the wall from within, noting how panic grows. He doesn't interfere, just observes. Until the seventh day. The final lap, the final breath before the shout. And then the sound breaks. Not loud, not angry, just full, like a command creation itself remembers. And Jericho falls. But here's the secret, not every stone drops the same way. One section stays standing. A small home, built into the wall. You float closer and see her Rahab. She clutches her family, eyes wide, heart racing, but safe. And beside her door, an angel stands guard. He was there the day she hid the spies. He was there the night she tied the scarlet cord. And he's here now not to protect her because she was perfect, but because she believed. You drift back over the ruins. Dust still settling, heart still pounding, history realigning. Joshua walks alone again, stunned, humbled. And above him, the armed angel reappears briefly, just long enough to nod once, then vanishes. No farewell, no fanfare. Victory was never the point. Obedience was. Some argue whether angels can alter the physical world or merely influence it. But you've seen now how the wall didn't fall from human might or divine explosion. It unraveled from the inside, because heaven had already shaken it loose. You follow the warriors as they disperse, some return to heaven, others remain on earth. One lingers near a broken section of wall, picking up a stone with odd tenderness. He places it quietly on a pile and whispers, "Even this ruin has purpose." You wonder, was he once stationed here long ago? Has he seen this place from both sides? There are layers to angelic history no human has ever traced. And tonight you glimpse one more. You're pulled forward in time, further east into a kingdom of palaces and lion pits. And down there, kneeling among hungry beasts, is a man named Daniel. Above him, another angel scroll in hand, mission not yet over. And what's about to happen is more negotiation than miracle. Stone walls rise around you, now smooth cold, carved with emblems of a kingdom that prides itself on control. You're no longer in the wild places of tents and wandering tribes. You're in Babylon, a city that gleams with power, dressed in gold, defended by lions. But even here, especially here, the angels haven't left. You descend quietly into a shadowed chamber beneath the palace. The air is thick with heat and the musky scent of fur. Torchlight flickers along the curved ribs of a massive pit carved into the ground. And in the center of it, on hard-packed dirt, is Daniel, kneeling, eyes closed, mouth still. He's not afraid, not anymore. The lions pace slowly around him, their golden eyes blinking in the dark. But they do not approach. They don't growl. They don't even sniff the prophet. Because something else is here. You shift your gaze to the far side of the pit, and there he is. The angel. Not glowing, not winged, just present. His robes are dusted with sand. His hair stirred only slightly by the movement of the great cats. His hand is outstretched not in threat, but in calm. It hovers gently between Daniel and the lions. He doesn't shout, doesn't wave. He holds the peace like a wall made of breath and will. Some say this angel shut the mouths of the lions. But tonight you see the deeper truth. He reasoned with them. You move closer and hear it not words exactly, but a communion of understanding. The angel is not commanding, he's reminding. These creatures are older than fear, he murmurs. They recognize the scent of Eden, and Daniel carries that scent. You feel it now too, a stillness that isn't absence of danger, but presence of assurance. This isn't the absence of fear, it's the overriding of it. And here's the miracle, the lions weren't silenced against their nature. Their nature remembered something older than hunger. Some theologians argue about whether the event was physical or symbolic. Did God really send an angel, or is this poetic imagery for divine protection? But you've just seen it, one angel real and steady holding space between predator and prophet, not to overpower the natural, but to awaken the divine within it. You float upward briefly to the king's chambers above. Darius paces in his robe, sleepless. He regrets the order, regrets the law, regrets the silence. But an angel is with him too, not in sight, in thought. He whispers to Darius's soul, not in words, but wait, rise early, go check. Hope still breathes. It's a whisper that turns footsteps. Dawn comes, the stone is rolled away. Daniel stands untouched. And the king doesn't just rejoice, he worships. A pagan king undone by the mercy of a god he doesn't fully know. The angel, he's gone now, back into the silence between seconds. His work is done. But not all angelic acts in Daniel's life are so quiet. You fast forward now. Daniel is older, still faithful, still dreaming. And one night, as he prays for his people, another angel appears, this time with urgency. Gabriel. He doesn't enter with ceremony. He lands like a breath after weeping. And he speaks. The moment you began to pray, a word was sent. You remember this moment, it's one of the few in all scripture where angelic timing is explained. Daniel had been praying for 21 days, and yet the answer had been dispatched on day 1. So what caused the delay? The angel says it outright. The prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me. A spiritual battle, an interference. Gabriel had been caught in a clash somewhere between realms, tangled in resistance. It took another angel, Michael, to come help. You shiver, because now you see it. Behind every answered prayer there may be a war no human ever sees. Some scholars consider this passage metaphorical. Others see it as clear evidence of angelic hierarchies, even rival powers in the unseen realm. Tonight you see the battle plain as day. You see Gabriel bruised not physically but in presence, dimmed slightly from the conflict, yet still faithful, still carrying the answer. And Daniel, he listens, he writes, he weeps, not just for the message, but for the effort it took to bring it. You rise again, hovering over Babylon as it dims into the dust of history. Empires crumble, thrones fall, but the angels, they remain. You follow one now, not Gabriel or Michael, but a quiet one. The same who sat with the lions. He has a new task. To walk beside a bitter prophet in the direction of a city that's about to be spared. Nineveh waits, and not even angels can predict what Jonah will do next. The sea smells different when you're following a prophet who's trying to run. You skim just above the waves now, wine curling at your sides. Beneath you the boat rocks. It's not large, just enough to carry a few desperate men and one very stubborn passenger. Jonah. He sleeps below deck, curled against a sack of grain, hoping that distance from God equals peace. Spoiler, it doesn't. But tonight isn't about Jonah's disobedience. Not really. It's about the angel assigned to follow him anyway. Yes, there is one. You see him now, hovering just above the mast wings, folded tight face, unreadable. He's been with Jonah since childhood, watching, guarding, whispering dreams into his sleep. Jonah never noticed, and now this angel must watch his prophet try to abandon his calling. Again, you drift lower. The storm hasn't started yet. The sea is calm, deceptively so. The angel stares into the distance, not searching, but waiting. Because he knows what's coming. He didn't cause the storm, but he'll be riding it. Some theological traditions suggest Jonah's journey is purely symbolic, about inner transformation, about national repentance. But tonight you're watching it unfold not in metaphor, but in motion. And it begins now. The wind rises, the crew panics, and the angel moves. He circles the ship once, whispering to the waves not to destroy, but to guide. This isn't a punishment, it's a detour. He steadies the mast just long enough for the sailors to shout their fears. He knocks over a loose bucket to splash Jonah's face and wake him, and he grieves quietly as Jonah insists they throw him overboard. The angel doesn't stop them, because even despair can be part of the path. You follow Jonah down into the deep, and here comes the part children remember. The great fish. But do they know the angel helped summon it? Do they know it wasn't sent to harm Jonah, but to hold him? You watch the fish rise from below, its mouth open like a cave in motion. Jonah doesn't resist. Not because he's brave, because he's empty, and still the angel follows. Inside the belly of the beast, you find a strange stillness. Jonah curls again. He prays this time not eloquently, but honestly, and the angel listens. You notice something else inside this dark, salt-washed chamber. The angel lights a single spot of place for Jonah to kneel. The space glows faintly, not from fire, but presence. 3 days pass, and on the third, Jonah is vomited onto the sand. Alone? Not quite. The angel is already beside him, helping him to his feet. Jonah doesn't see. He limps toward Nineveh, muttering, obeying finally. But the angel, he hopes, because Nineveh isn't ready for Jonah, but it is ready for change. You drift ahead to the city, massive, loud, bustling. Angels walk among the crowd, softening hearts, stirring questions. Some lean against market stalls, brushing curiosity into the minds of shoppers. Others linger outside shrines, sowing dissatisfaction in idolaters. So when Jonah arrives, still reluctant, still bitter, the ground has already been tilled. His message is short. 40 days, then judgment. But the miracle isn't in his delivery. It's in the response. The people weep. The king repents. Even the animals are clothed in sackcloth. And the angel who followed Jonah all the way here, he weeps too. Not because Nineveh is spared, but because mercy wins. Here's a lesser-known curiosity. Some ancient texts claim Jonah's message wasn't complete, that he was meant to deliver more than doom, but bitterness cut it short. Yet the people repented anyway. Why? Because of what happened before Jonah even arrived. The dreams angels stirred, the unrest they allowed, the doubts they whispered into sinful comfort. You see it now. This wasn't Jonah's miracle, it was theirs. A network of divine intervention centuries old, activated to give one broken city one final chance. And it worked. But Jonah, he's angry. You find him now sulking under a vine outside the city, waiting to see if God changes his mind again. He doesn't. The vine dies, Jonah complains. And the angel, he doesn't lecture. He sits nearby watching the horizon and whispers not to Jonah but to you. Sometimes the prophet changes last. That's the miracle no one preaches. That heaven works even when the messenger falters. That angels pour themselves into preparations whose credit will go elsewhere. That grace arrives on time even if the one delivering it is late. You rise again, carried on the wind that once held Jonah's prayer. And in the distance you see a furnace burning. Not in hell, in Babylon. And inside not smoke but company. Because next you'll meet the angel who walked in fire without burning. You descend through time wrapped in smoke, not the choking kind, but holy mist, thick with purpose. The scent is unfamiliar burnt cedar oil and something almost electric. You pass banners flapping in foreign winds, Babylonian sigils bold against the sky. Below you stands a golden idol towering, gleaming soulless. Crowds bow. All but 3. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. They stand upright as the music plays, not in defiance, but in clarity. The kind that comes only when the soul knows something deeper is at stake than survival. You hover behind them, and behind you the angel arrives. No fanfare, no sound. He's not here yet to save, he's here to watch. Theologians often debate this story's language. Was the fourth figure in the fire an angel? A Christophany, a vision? Tonight you see him clearly. He's an angel, and he's nervous. Yes, nervous, because even angels don't always know what God will choose. He watches the guards bind the 3 men, watches them dragged toward the furnace, 7 times hotter than normal, and he waits. Permission hasn't come yet. He wants to act. You can feel it like tension in a bowstring. The guards fall dead before the fire touches them. And still the angel waits. Then, like the sudden lifting of a veil, he's released. He enters the fire, not through the doorway, through the flame. And when he arrives, the fire moves away from him, curling back as if shy. Heat remains, but it cannot harm. You follow him in. And inside the furnace, there they are. The three men bound, then unbound. Not a singe on their cloaks, not a scorch on their skin. And standing with them is the angel, not just shielding them, but changing the nature of the fire itself. It no longer consumes. It reveals. This is one of those rare miracles where the divine makes no effort to hide. Even the king sees it. Did we not cast 3 men into the fire? He squints. But I see 4, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods. He's not wrong. You watch the angel place a hand on one man's shoulder, not to comfort him, but to steady him, because their faith lit the furnace before the fire ever did. And here's the quiet truth: the angel didn't save them from the fire. He saved them in it. Some scholars point out the men didn't know whether God would rescue them or not. And that's the point. They stood anyway. And heaven answered after the risk. You follow the angel back out as the flames die down. The ropes that bound them are gone. The onlookers are silent. Even the idol seems dimmer now, embarrassed by its failure. And the angel, he doesn't look at the king. He looks at you because he knows fire is coming for you too. Maybe not literal, maybe not now, but eventually. And he wants you to remember this. Sometimes God shows up late by human clocks, but never too late. He vanishes into the heat like vapor into morning. But you're not done here. The angel left something behind. A mark. Not on the 3 men, but on the fire itself. From this day forward, the furnace will refuse to kill anyone else. They'll use it again, of course. Empires don't learn quickly, but every time they light it, the flames burn a little cooler. The rope burns first. The ones thrown in somehow survive longer. Not always, but long enough. Because presence lingers, even after angels leave. You rise again, carried upward in a column of warm wind, Babylon's towers shrinking below. But before you reach the clouds, you feel something ripple in the dark. An ambush. A shadow forming not over a city, but over a prophet. One heaven has plans for. Because a murder is about to be blocked. And no one on earth will even know it happened. The stars above are faint, now washed out by torchlight and tension. You descend into a city curled tight in sleep, but not peace. Somewhere in its folds, a group of men whisper beneath cloaks, breath curling in the night air. Tonight they plan a murder. Not of a king, not of a soldier, but of a prophet. His name is Jeremiah. You know him as the weeping prophet, the one who warned, mourned, and walked among ruins. But few remember how many times he almost died before the fall of Jerusalem, and fewer still know why he didn't. You land softly on a rooftop where the conspirators huddle. Their knives are sharp, their eyes sharper. They've been ordered by officials to silence him. Too many sermons, too much truth. They're tired of being told Babylon is not the enemy, but the consequence. They're about to strike. But you aren't alone up here. The angel is already present. She doesn't wield a sword. She carries silence. You watch her move, not with force, but influence. She shifts a tile on the roof just enough to startle the men. A dog barks. A light flickers. One of them turns his head and sees a figure near the prophet's house. Not Jeremiah. An old man walking alone, off schedule, off pattern. Just there. And now the men hesitate. It's enough. You follow the angel as she glides toward Jeremiah's small dwelling. He's asleep, face lined by dust and tears. He has no idea his death was scheduled for tonight. He won't know tomorrow either. And that's the point. Some miracles leave no proof. They just let life continue. Theologians don't often speak of this one because there's no verse for it. No dramatic escape, no parted sea. Just a death that never happened. You step into Jeremiah's room. The angel lingers by the door, hand pressed to the wood, listening for danger. And then she prays. Not upward, outward. To the street, to the walls, to the watchman who suddenly feels uneasy and decides to pace closer to the prophet's house. And when morning comes, Jeremiah rises unaware that heaven ran interference all night long. Here's something most people miss: not all angels act alone. That same night, a second angel visited the wife of one of the would-be assassins. Gave her a dream. She woke in a sweat, shook her husband, begged him not to go out. Said something terrible would happen. He stayed. Years later, he'll confess it to his grandchildren. And when they ask what changed him, he'll say, "I just had this feeling, like something holy was watching me." You follow that angel, now trailing her as she leaves Jerusalem for the surrounding hills. She kneels at the base of an olive tree, one of many that dot this land, ancient and unassuming. And she does something unexpected. She weeps. Not for Jeremiah, who was spared, but for the city, because the angels know what's coming. Babylon will not be held back. The temple will fall, And this prophet, though saved tonight, will walk through fire not of heaven's making, but man's. The angel whispers into the soil, we did what we could. And the earth answers with silence. Some scholars believe angels act only on command. But tonight you've seen what's rarely spoken. They intercede. They weep over cities. They fight not just for lives, but for the spaces between decisions. For the little moments when someone might turn back. And sometimes all they can do is buy more time. You rise again, city fading into haze below. In the distance, a temple flickers, Solomon's masterpiece still standing, for now. You pass over rooftops and ruins in waiting, drawn toward a different kind of structure. One not built by hands, but by presence. A realm where angels don't swing swords. They carry tools, because what you'll see next are the builders. The ones who shape not cities, but hearts. You rise from the smog of danger into something cleaner, lighter, but no less weighty. The stars return overhead sharper now, like etched jewels against a velvet sky. But where you're going next isn't among the stars. It's beneath them, not underground, but behind the veil. There is a realm rarely glimpsed, often doubted, where angels do not fight or fly or warn or wound. They build, and you're entering it now? At first it looks like light moving through mist, but as your eyes adjust, you see structure, arches, beams, foundations that seem to exist between matter and meaning. They shimmer in and out, sometimes resembling cathedrals, sometimes homes, sometimes nothing human at all. This is where constructing angels dwell. They don't wear armor. They wear patience. You float closer to one of them now, tall, calm, robed in fabric that resembles woven dawn. In his hands, he holds not a sword, but a chisel. He's shaping something that pulses with living light. It's not marble, it's memory. You watch him tap gently, no harder than a breath, and a ripple moves through what he's crafting. It expands like a thought you didn't know you had, like a future moment being readied. What is it, you whisper, though no sound leaves your lips? He answers without looking. A temple, but not the kind with bricks. He's building a space within someone. A chamber that will one day hold peace during tragedy, forgiveness during betrayal, courage in silence. This is not a temple for feet, it's for faith. The angel turns a little, and you see other builders beside him, each working on different constructs, some delicate, others immense. One weaves strands of regret into compassion. Another carves a lattice from an old betrayal, reinforcing it until it can bear the weight of love again. You begin to understand these angels are not architects of cities. They're engineers of the human interior. Some theologians speculate that God alone shapes the soul. Others hint that angels may tend it like gardeners. But tonight, you see the nuance. They don't build the soul. They furnish it. They ready the rooms where God will someday enter. You drift between the builders, now catching glimpses of what they prepare. A hidden resilience placed inside a single mother who will one day raise a prophet. A soft patch of grace seated inside a bitter man, so that one day when he's old, he will forgive a brother who wronged him. A glimmer of hope welded into a child's laughter long before that child loses her parents. And none of it is announced. None of it earns applause. These are the miracles that happen inside you, unseen, until they matter most. One angel turns to you, noticing your awe. His face is stern but not unfriendly. We do not build for applause, he says. You nod. And then he adds, but sometimes we do listen. He places his hand on the surface of what he's shaping. You lean in. From within the structure, you hear something faint. A prayer. Not shouted. Just whispered from a hospital room by someone who thinks no one is listening. And yet here it is. The angel lifts his eyes when the heart prays, the blueprint arrives. You look above and see how these structures rise like spiritual scaffolding stretching back down toward earth, anchored not in geography, but in people. That woman sobbing on her kitchen floor, she's already standing inside a frame of endurance built years ago by hands that never touched her but knew her. You begin to see how the builders influence the world below. A man pauses before screaming at his son, not because he suddenly became kind, but because something within him softened. That softness, constructed here, long ago, by an angel with time and tools. You look down again and for a moment you see yourself. A hallway in your life that felt like darkness, a season where you had no words. But now you see the blueprint that held you, then reinforced by beams of patience laid by hands that never needed thanks. And you whisper thank you anyway. The angel smiles. But your time here is brief. Because ahead through a crack in the golden mist, you hear something else. A cry. Not of pain, of birth. And angels rush toward it, not to deliver a message this time, but to defend it. Because what's happening in Bethlehem is no quiet nativity scene. It's a battlefield, and only one angel will stand between heaven's gift and earth's danger. You descend now through starlit silence, no longer the realm of builders, but the edge of battle. Below you lies a small hill town carved into the Judean countryside, Bethlehem. It sleeps under a sky stitched with anticipation. Everything about tonight feels still, but it is not peace. Not yet. Because somewhere nearby, Herod has begun to worry. And when kings worry, angels prepare. You shift your gaze toward a stable barely more than a cave. Rough-hewn walls, the scent of animals, cold stone. But in its center, wrapped in linen held by a weary teenage girl, is light-made flesh. Jesus. Newborn, fragile, eternal. He doesn't cry much. Even now he's watching the ceiling with wide, unfocused eyes like he remembers something from before the stars were born. Beside the cave, an angel stands. Not tall, not fiery, just ready. This one isn't here to sing. That's already happened out in the fields where shepherds trembled beneath a sky split open by glory. No, this angel is here for something else. Security. Because not far from here, another force is moving. You follow it now, gliding silently toward the east. A ripple of shadow slithers along the road, Herod's thoughts, his envy, his fear. They travel faster than words. And the demons that feed on them are already whispering. They say a king has been born. He will replace you. Act before heaven does. But heaven already has. You return to the cave. The angel has not moved, but now you see the others. Hidden in the trees, perched on rooftops. One seated atop a closed jar of grain. All still, all watching. Bethlehem tonight is not a sleepy town. It is occupied territory held not by Rome, not by Herod, but by angels. Every alley, every rooftop, every shadow. Angels. Not attacking. Holding the line. The infant stirs. You draw closer. Mary hums quiet and tuneless. Joseph leans back, exhausted but calm. And that's when you hear it. Wings. But not from above. From below. You glance downward and see it's something wrong approaching fast. Not soldiers, not steel. Intention. Darkness given thought. You feel it like cold behind the spine. But before it arrives, the angel at the mouth of the cave raises his hand. And the others obey. No swords drawn. Just presence. Radiant. Absolute. The dark recoils. Not with a scream, but a hiss. Denied. Here's something most people miss. The real battle of Bethlehem didn't happen when Herod sent his men. It happened the moment he thought to. That night, an entire angelic force stood between a baby and the schemes of empires. Some scholars argue Jesus as God needed no protection. But tonight you see the humility of incarnation. He came as flesh. Flesh needs shelter, and angels provide it. You float now toward the edge of town where 3 foreign travelers approach. The Magi, they bring gifts and questions. But they're not the miracle here. It's the dream. That night as they sleep, one angel enters gently, no blaze, no echo. Just a thought seated into rest. Do not return to Herod. And they don't. They reroute. And in that quiet decision, a massacre is delayed. Not prevented, delayed. You grieve a little, so do the angels. 'Cause they can block some evil, not all. The cry of Rachel weeping for her children will still echo in Ramah. But even there, especially there, angels arrive to carry souls, to comfort mothers, to rage silently at what they were not allowed to stop. And this is the mystery. Sometimes heaven doesn't stop horror. Sometimes it enters it. You return to the cave. The child sleeps now. The angels around him relax slightly, but none leave. Because this child is more than divine. He is vulnerable. And nothing in all creation provokes angelic loyalty more than God choosing weakness. You rise now above Bethlehem's stars, shimmering like applause from distant galaxies. And one angel high above them all writes in the dark, "He has come." That's all. No title, no prophecy, just truth. But your journey isn't done. Because that same child will one day walk a dusty road wounded and unrecognized. And on that road, another angel walks just behind him, disguised as a stranger. The wind shifts now, not with majesty, but with memory. You pass over years and seconds. The child in Bethlehem grows, walks, weeps, disappears into Egypt, returns. 30 years stitched in silence. No miracles, no sermons, just dust and obedience. And now you find him again. Not in a manger, not in a temple, but on a road, the Emmaus Road. The sun hangs low, warm and distracted. Shadows stretch long over gravel and olive trees. 2 men walk slowly, heads down, voices hushed. They're grieving, because Jesus has died. And their hope, bright and impossible just days ago, has gone dark. You float above them for a moment, listening. He was supposed to redeem Israel. We thought he was the one. They don't know what to do next. They just keep walking. And then, someone joins them. A third man. Face obscured, tone calm, pace gentle. They don't recognize him. Of course not. Their sorrow has made them blind. But you recognize him, and so does the angel. He's not far, walking behind quietly like a second shadow. Watching not because the man in the middle needs protection, but because the moment is so tender, so divine, that it deserves a witness. And more than that, a shield. Because grief has predators. Dark thoughts stalk the vulnerable. Despair opens doorways. And this angel is here to keep the shadows at bay while something sacred unfolds. You draw closer. The stranger begins to speak gently at first, then with rising intensity. Was it not necessary that the Christ should suffer these things and enter into his glory? He opens the scriptures like a seam, revealing the thread of redemption that always ran through them. And the two travelers, they burn. Not with fear, with recognition, but not yet. Because heaven is patient with revelation. The road stretches on the stranger teaches, and the angel continues behind them unseen. But when they reach the village and beg him to stay, something shifts. The angel halts. He knows what's coming. You follow them inside. Bread is placed on the table. The stranger lifts it, blesses it, breaks it, and in that moment, light floods their minds. The veil lifts. They see, and he vanishes. Not in smoke, in completion, but the angel, he remains. Not because he must, because he wants to hear their laughter, their stunned shouts, their joy as they run back to Jerusalem under a sky that suddenly feels alive again. You rise with him now just above the rooftops as the disciples gather. He listens as stories pour in. The empty tomb, the women's vision, Peter's encounter. Now these two from Emmaus. Hope reassembles itself. And still the angel watches. He's one of the oldest. He remembers the garden. He remembers the sword he once held at Eden's edge. But tonight he feels something unfamiliar. Ease. As if for a moment the world doesn't need defending, only receiving. Some theologians wonder why Jesus didn't reveal himself sooner to the men on the road. But you know now, because hearts must soften before they can recognize light. And grief can be holy when it becomes hunger. The angel whispers something as he leaves. Not to the men, to you. Don't miss him when he walks quietly, because not every divine visitation comes in thunder. Some walk beside you for miles, explaining everything you thought God forgot. You drift now toward a garden, not Eden, but close. A tomb sits open, light curling around the stone like mist. Inside it, another angel stands, because resurrection is not the end of danger. It's the beginning of disruption. And what happens next will shake not just Rome, but death itself. The garden is still, but it is not quiet. Everything breathes here. The grass bends toward the empty tomb. The stones lean in. Even the wind pauses, as if awaiting further instruction. You hover just above the rolled-away stone, and inside, dimly lit by morning's first gold, stands an angel. His robe gleams like lightning. But he is not terrifying. He is tired. Not from weakness, but from reverence. Because guarding the moment where death became undone is not a task, it's a liturgy. You drift closer and realize he's not alone. There are two angels here. One sits where the head of Jesus had been laid, the other where his feet once rested. And between them, nothing. Nobody. No hecho. Just completion. This is the miracle behind the miracle. The angels didn't roll away the stone to let Jesus out. They opened it so we could look in, so that humanity could peer into the void and see not decay but absence. You drift to the entrance where the world still sleeps, but not for long, because she's coming. Mary Magdalene? Not with certainty, with tears. She's been running heart-bruised with loss. She carries no plan, only grief, but when she arrives and sees the stone moved, something collapses in her chest. She enters, and the angels sit there radiant calm. One speaks, "Woman, why are you weeping?" You hear it layered, not sarcasm, not even a question of logic, but a summons. Why? What story have you accepted as the ending? Mary doesn't answer. Or maybe she does. Her words scatter like leaves. They have taken my Lord, and I don't know where they've put him. And then she turns and sees him. But like the travelers on Emmaus Road, she doesn't recognize him. Not at first, because resurrection is not a return. It's a transformation. Some theologians call this the resurrected body mystery, that Jesus, after rising, was changed enough to be mistaken for a stranger. Others say it's the sorrow in people's eyes that blinds them. But you know now as you watch from just above her shoulder, sometimes the risen Lord doesn't show up in form. He shows up in voice. He speaks one word, her name, Mary, and her whole world remakes itself in an instant. The angels remain silent now, watching as she collapses in joy and awe, because their work in this garden wasn't to preach. It was to frame, to hold space around a moment when heaven touched earth again. You lift into the air and see more angels gathering at a distance, forming not a choir but a corridor, because soon Jesus will ascend. And they will welcome him back, not as returning royalty, but as the one who brought heaven into skin and didn't flinch. You drift further up, and then something strange happens. You see a stone roll away again, but this time it's not in the garden. It's in someone's heart. A woman in a modern hospital bed closes her eyes and lets go of resentment. Not because she's told to, because something whispered her name. A man in a prison cell breathes forgiveness for the first time in 20 years. No preacher spoke to him, but a presence stood by him. A child wakes from a nightmare and feels calm instead of fear. Each of them had an angel nearby, not to do anything, just to witness resurrection happening in real time, because that's the miracle most people miss. Jesus rose once, but resurrection never stopped. It happens again, and again, and again. Each time someone chooses life over despair, hope over ruin, love over bitterness, and angels attend every single one. You float now beyond the garden, beyond the cross, beyond the tomb, into the realm of record keeping. Because somewhere hidden, protected, there's a scroll, and it holds everything that almost happened, but didn't. It's darker here. Not the suffocating dark of despair, but the velvet dark of secrecy, of reverence, of mystery. You're no longer hovering over landscapes or wandering with prophets. You're inside a chamber not made of stone or sky, but something older, etched in intention, wrapped in silence. This place isn't found in scripture, but the angels speak of it. A room deep in heaven's inner courts, the hall of the unwritten scroll. And you've been invited in. You pass through columns that shimmer like wind-blown glass. The floor beneath you pulses gently like the heartbeat of a living being. Around you, bookshelves rise not made of wood, but of woven light, each thread a memory unspent. And in the center sits a scroll, unopened, untouched by time, guarded by a single angel. He's unlike the others you've seen. His robes are unmarked. His eyes carry both youth and age, as if he remembers things that haven't yet happened. He sits cross-legged beside the scroll, hands resting on his knees. He knows you're here, but he doesn't speak, because what you're about to witness doesn't require explanation. It only requires silence. You move closer. The scroll is wide sealed in golden ribbon, pulsing faintly as if aware of you. What's inside? Not prophecy, not law. Possibility. This is the scroll of almost. The record of the things that nearly happened, but didn't. You lean in, and without unrolling the scroll reveals. A flicker of story unfolds in the air. A boy nearly drowned in a rushing river until a stranger shouted from a bridge. The stranger nudged there by an angel 5 minutes earlier. A woman almost gave up that night sitting in her car, headlights off, but a song on the radio changed her mind. That song whispered into a DJ's dream by a nighttime watcher. A war that almost broke out when a general misread a signal. But something told him to wait 30 seconds. That something was a hand unseen turning his head ever so slightly. None of these events made headlines, but they made eternity safer. Because not all miracles are seen. Some happen in negative space. The accident that never occurred. The betrayal reconsidered. The cruelty swallowed just in time. And the angels? They record these, not for praise, but for remembrance. Because each almost avoided is a thread held in heaven's hand. You watch as the angel raises one hand, palm open. A droplet of light hovers above it, shaped like a teardrop but glowing. What's that you think, but don't say aloud? The angel responds anyway. It's a decision. Then gently he presses the droplet into the surface of the scroll. It vanishes, absorbed without a mark. Will it be remembered, you ask inwardly? The angel finally looks at you. It already is. Some theologians argue heaven only records what is not what might have been. But tonight you see the broader truth. The Father delights not just in our actions, but in our restraints. In the pain we almost caused, but didn't. In the dark path we almost took, but turned from. These victories are quiet, but they matter. You glance down the length of the chamber and see a second scroll sealed tighter, unnamed. You start toward it, but the angel stands and blocks your path. Not yet, he says softly. There are some almost too heavy to hold without mercy first. You step back not in fear, but in respect. And then something surprising, he hands you a blank scroll. Small, light. You've had these too, he says. Moments not remembered, but still seen. And suddenly your mind flashes. A word you almost said full of cruelty, but you bit your tongue. A street you almost walked but turned from, unaware of the danger that lingered there. A call you almost didn't make, but did. And someone stayed alive one more day because of it. You grip the scroll tightly, not to change the past, but to honor it. Because even your unnoticed mercies have made heaven brighter. The angel turns back to his post, and you rise again, scroll in hand, moving upward through thought and time. There's something waiting above you, a place few have ever seen, where even angels cry. And their tears don't fall to earth. They fall beneath a throne. You rise gently now, carried not by wind, but by something quieter. Grief. Not the humankind thick with confusion, but celestial sorrow. You're entering a place above praise, yet below final glory. A hidden space beneath the throne of God where few are allowed to linger. And here of all places, angels weep. Not many, not all, just enough. You arrive slowly, your presence softened by the very atmosphere, thick with reverence, aching with memory. Before you stands a platform of living crystal, beneath it bowls. Each bowl filled not with oil or incense, but with tears, not yours, theirs, angels. You approach one of the bowls rimmed with ancient script that flickers in and out like remembered dreams. The tears inside glow not with sadness, but with weight. You reach out to touch one, and suddenly you see it, a girl praying for her father to come home he never does. A widow lighting a candle for the 1000th night still alone. A boy beaten for praying aloud, still believing. And in each of these moments you see an angel nearby. Not intervening, but present. Unable to stop it, but unwilling to leave. This is why they cry. Because angels aren't detached. They carry the ache of every mission they weren't allowed to complete. Every soul they held while it broke. Every plea they brought to heaven only to hear not yet. Some theologians say angels are emotionless, pure function, pure will. But tonight that idea burns away. You see them kneeling, heads bowed, wings draped around themselves like blankets. They are not undone. They are simply honest. One turns to you. His face is streaked with light, not water, but his voice, it sounds like a lullaby sung in reverse. I watched a child suffer once, not because she deserved it, not because heaven looked away, but because the world was broken and we were not allowed to mend it yet. You want to ask why? But he continues. And yet, even in her pain, she sang, a single note, cracked, true. He looks down at the bowl. It's here. You realize the tears aren't just grief. They're honor, collected not from failure, but from sacred witnessing. Because even in moments of agony, the angels saw something worth remembering, some worth preserving. You drift further into the chamber. Dozens more bowls line the floor. Some are nearly full, some shimmer like mirrors. One far in the corner is sealed. You ask about it. The angel answers quietly, that one hasn't happened yet. And you shudder, because even the future has sorrow waiting to be held. Still, you begin to notice something else. For every tear that falls, another evaporates, not lost, lifted, carried upward into the space just above the throne. You follow one. It rises like incense and vanishes into a burst of golden breath. Not forgotten, redeemed. And you begin to understand, this chamber isn't a place of despair. It's a reservoir of hope deferred, a holding space for holy ache. And when the final restoration comes, these bowls will be poured out, not in wrath, but in rain, on a world no longer wounded. You look down one last time. A tear is falling. You trace its origin, and see a woman kneeling beside her bed, praying not for herself, but for a friend who has stopped believing. Her angel is beside her, silent, moved. He sheds one tear, and places it in the bowl. It shimmers like sunrise. And you rise once more past the chamber, past the throne, past everything. Because now for the first time, it's your story that's being opened. And an angel is about to show you the wings that saved you. You rise through a brightness that doesn't blind but reveals. It's not a place you're entering now, it's a moment. Yours, not past, not future. A strange middle space where the thread of your life is stretched before you like a river of glass. You see it below, bending, branching, almost breaking in places. But what draws your eye aren't the events. It's the interventions. You begin to descend gently into the first one. You're small, maybe 6, maybe 7. Running too close to a busy street, chasing a ball, laughter echoing. And then, a stumble, a turn, a car you never saw. It should have hit you. It almost did. But someone grabbed the back of your shirt. No one was there. You floated in that second just long enough for the tire to pass by instead of over. And now from this vantage point, you see it, an angel tall, faceless, calm. One hand on your shoulder, the other open, not bracing against impact, redirecting time. He doesn't look down at you. He looks ahead already, measuring the next variable, the next chain of reaction that must be shifted by millimeters. You drift forward, breath shallow, eyes wide. You don't remember this, but your body does. That moment you paused for no reason, then moved. That was him. Your next memory appears. You're older now. Alone, not physically, but soul deep. You had prayed that night not for help, but for an end. Not out loud, just inward. And that's where the angel was waiting. You see it now, not a figure of light this time, just a sense. A presence near your window, watching, weeping, not preventing the ache, preserving the flame. He didn't pull you out of that darkness, but he made sure it didn't close around you completely. He whispered a phrase that felt like your own thought. Try again tomorrow. You did. That tomorrow became today. You moved through 2 more moments. One in which a friend called at the exact right time, unaware they were interrupting a plan you'd been forming for days. Another where you took the long way home and missed a scene you were never meant to witness. Each time an angel intervened. Not dramatically, just enough. And then the final moment. Recent. Too recent. You had no idea you were being protected. Not from danger, from despair. A conversation didn't go the way you needed. A door you prayed for didn't open. You felt forgotten. But what you couldn't see, what you see now, is that the angel standing beside you wasn't blocking you. He was shielding you from something further down that path. A trap, a loss, a sorrow that would have left scars you couldn't have healed from. You look into his face now, unsure whether to thank him or curse the delay. He places a hand to his chest and bows. No ego, no expectation, just love. Some believe angels only guard children. Others say each person may have a specific guardian for life. Tonight, that debate melts in the warmth of what you've seen, because the truth is simpler. You were never unwatched. You rise again, the threads of your life glowing now, not just from memory, but from meaning. And for the first time, you feel the gravity of your own existence. You're not the hero. You're not the cause. But you've been worth protecting. Again. And again. And again. And just as the awe begins to settle in your chest, a horizon opens before you. And you see a table, massive, covered in scrolls. Around it, angels in deep conversation. Because even now, they're debating whether or not to end the story, but one of them is holding it back. And you're about to learn why. There is no sky here. Only a ceiling of swirling light and shadow, like thoughts being written by stars too old to speak. You hover near a vast table carved from the roots of time, encircled by angels who do not rest, but do pause. This is not a place of orders. It is a place of counsel. And in the center of the table lies a scroll unlike any other. The final one, the one whispered about in visions. Sealed, untouched, unbroken. This is not metaphor. It is real. You drift closer and see the 7 seals, perfect whole, humming faintly like a clock wrapped in breath. They wait, not in slumber, in mercy, because heaven does not rush what it loves, and humanity, even now, is not yet ready for the final page. You feel that. One angel stands apart from the others, scroll in hand, gaze fixed on the earth below. He's advocating, not arguing, just asking. Not yet, he says. You don't hear it, you feel it. The plea isn't for delay, it's for completion. There is still a child who hasn't spoken their first prayer. There is still a mother learning how to forgive her own mother. There is a song not yet sung, a kindness not yet chosen. And the angels listen, because angels do not move by force. They move by consensus of compassion. Another stands, wings furled, tight eyes dimmed by ages of watching. It grows darker, he says. They forget so quickly. And yet no one moves to open the seals. Because another angel rises now, silent until this moment. She carries a bowl. You recognize it. One of the ones from beneath the throne. Tears. Hope deferred. She sets it beside the scroll, and the light in the room bends around it. You begin to understand. Every moment of mercy delays the end. Every gentle decision. Every prayer whispered by someone who doesn't believe in prayer. Every apology that costs more than pride. Each one presses gently on the unbroken seal and says, wait, one more day. You drift upward now, leaving the table behind, heart heavy and lit at once. Because the end is real. But it is also mercifully paused. By choice. By love. By angels who have seen both beginning and end and decided, today is not the day. You rise past the edge of the council, where light thins into velvet, and your thoughts begin to slow. You are floating now. Still. Breathing softer. No more stories to chase. No more footsteps to follow. Only this. Let it all settle now. Let the images fade like morning mist over a calm sea. The ladder behind you has quieted. The scroll has dimmed. The angels, those silent stewards of your hours, have returned to their places. Not gone, just closer to the veil again. Take a breath. Let your shoulders release. Your soul, which has traveled so far tonight, can rest now in this space between waking and sleep. You have walked with warriors and wept with watchers. You have stood beside mercy and watched it delay judgment by mere threads of compassion. And maybe, just maybe, you've remembered something that was never really forgotten. You are protected. You are observed with tenderness beyond human language. You are not alone, not in grief, not in silence, not even in doubt. The same hands that parted seas and calmed lions now rest gently over your life. Not to control it, to cradle it, like a newborn in a stable, like a spark under snow. So as you drift off now, held in this unseen grace, let your spirit exhale into the arms of the one who assigns angels not just to kings and prophets, but to you. Sleep deeply. Let heaven finish the work tonight. You've already listened. You've already seen. Now simply rest.